If you want to get a lot of customers, you build something generic. If you want to make really happy a small set of customers, you build something just for them.
I think we take more of the Linux approach. We actually allow power users to see more and do more.
We're trying to empower software engineers. So we're not targeting weekend enthusiasts who want to vibe code a project. It's going to work for that, but we're targeting software engineers.
Human society is fundamentally quite heterogeneous, as in we're not all the same. Cultures differ, people talk in different ways. It gets deep maybe quite quickly. A one-size-fits-all approach. I suppose it was an approach that was taken and has been taken over the last few decades. The first thing that we've really been focusing on has been just performance and getting the right answer. Kind of human-machine interface side of it was almost a little bit more of an afterthought. As a result, I think some of the techniques and approaches that have been taken have been maybe a bit too broad and coarse, where really actually now we're at the point where we should be getting into the finer details of how models interface with humans.
If you want to use these coding editors, you need to make sure you know what it's doing under the hood. You need to make sure that what it's producing is readable and maintainable and extensible on the other side. And that's what we're doing here. We're making sure that code quality is a first-class citizen, not a secondary priority.
I think a lot of developers who use these tools regularly sometimes get frustrated about common characteristics that the models and products feed to you, things like prematurely claiming that something's fixed without actually checking that it's been fixed or not, being sycophantic or overly earnest when it's responding to you. A lot of these things at face value when you first see them don't really feel like a big deal. When you see them hundreds of times a day and when you're battling with the agent to try to get something to work that's repeatedly not working, they grate on you and they really make you almost resent in a very sort of human way the way that the product is behaving. And we see this all over the place, whether it be with our own tools when we were building them or with other people's tools as we've been exploring the space. And we were very quick to notice that these are things that have been holding us back as engineers.
And what annoys me is how opaque they are. I hate whenever I have to compact my context, or the AI does, and yet I don't know with most tools how close I am to doing that, or what my context is being used for. It stops me from getting better at prompting it in ways to use less context. Not a lot of people know enough about AI to know how to use that best, but they're not going to learn more unless they're exposed to it. So we do expose them because we trust our users.
Slop in coding is a massive problem. Number one, because it really annoys people. You can see straight away where an LLM has generated some code. It'll be really defensive. It'll have a lot of fallbacks. It won't respect architectural decisions. Comments will be silly, or it'll use comment sections as a scratchpad for its own thinking. All of this reduces the maintainability and the readability of code.
In a small, immature project, you get this huge ramp up of productivity. You feel like you are a 10x developer, you're getting so much done. But there is this crucial point where the code base gets to a certain size and you build a certain number of features in, where all of a sudden you feel like you aren't going as fast anymore. And it's taking more and more follow-up prompts to get the outcomes you wanted originally. We feel like we were going faster last week, but we're not now. So we actually did a fully mechanical study of all the diffs that had been written over time and figured out, okay, this is what slop looks like on an actual code writing level. Broadly speaking, it's the agent not respecting the architectural principles of the code base that already exist. Yes, it can write actual code in the same style as the code that's already in the file. That's fairly easy for it to do. But in many other areas, more high level and abstractly, the agent doesn't really respect a lot of the conventions that are already in place. And what that means over time is that you end up with disparate implementations of the same thing and varied architectural patterns and code smells. And all of these things then result in the agent being unsure or confused about how it should do something, how it should implement something, using the wrong helper function from the wrong place to do a different thing. And it just accumulates and accumulates, and that you get this hodgepodge of different styles and approaches that are fundamentally very confusing. We wanted to target that behavior specifically on a mechanical level when we're rewarding the agent in the RL process, to make sure that it actually adheres to the conventions and the ways of working of the code base. And that's especially important in large code bases. We noticed that slowdown when working on our own stuff. And that is one of the biggest reasons that drove us to go down this rabbit hole of, okay, how do we fix that in even the smartest models on the market right now, and realign them to make sure that they are not as sloppy.
Most AI coding tools can be fairly cookie cutter. I think they don't quite capture the developer's own voice and the developer's own taste when making changes of their own. So it's very easy often to tell where an LLM has made changes, and then it makes it much harder to maintain that code base with predetermined architectural decisions that teams have thought carefully about in mind. Architectural patterns are where you've said, okay, I want a service and controller layer, or I want it to be kind of a monolith, I want the classes to look like this, I want a factory here, a builder there. If an LLM doesn't respect that, the code might run, it might pass the tests, and that might be fine. But actually what we want to say is we want to respect the taste that own developers bring to their own projects.
In our view now, it's correctness, but at what cost, right? You can be right and do a huge trajectory and the agent can finally get there in the end, but in doing so, it's created 3 new files that could have just been encompassed in one, and it has reinvented the wheel in some place where we already actually had a version of that in the code base elsewhere had it just gone and looked.
We want to make surgical changes that you can see your own productivity gains after those changes, but they maintain the architectural standards and the coding standards and the code quality that you've laid out already.
Real professionals can utilize our tools with their existing workflows as an addition of themselves and not really a replacement, which is where I think a lot of the other tools are trying to go for. They're trying to replace, we're trying to empower software engineers.
We always show exactly how much context you've used up and have left. We also have a graph on the right-hand side of the CLI that shows exactly what your tokens are being used for.
We're presenting the internal workings of the model that you're interfacing with. I can kind of be like a micromanager for my agents, and I can watch them as they're going and see what's happening underneath. Not just the code changes, but their reasoning, the tools they're using, the commands they're running. And if I see it going wrong in any place, I can jump in and say, no, that's not quite what I meant. Go down this path instead.
Developers are opinionated in many ways, and one of the most opinionated things they focus on is where they work and how they work.
Some people like the terminal, some people like their VS Code, some people like a desktop application or web application. But the side that goes deeper to that is you have a lot of teams who are using AI in individually siloed procedures where it's not shareable with the rest of the team. And that's not really the way the rest of the industry has been working. That's why the ecosystem exists. It exists to be a collaborative area. So accessible to anyone, collaborative for everyone.
Well, the big one for me is remote code execution and remote tasks. The way I work, and I think more and more people are working nowadays, is they want to do a lot of work in parallel. The problem is the only real way to do that in a local environment is through this thing called Git work trees, which is kind of taking a sledgehammer to the problem, and it's not a very elegant solution. You can only do so much on your local machine before the processing power of your laptop is a limiting factor. That's something I've been very conscious of for a while, and the whole company has, and we have been working very hard to build out remote execution so that you can start tasks on your local machine, but they don't run on your local machine. So you can start 100 tasks in parallel, and each runs on their own environment. Each of them can sort of do their own work completely independently, and you don't have to mess around with Git work trees.
It also means that you can pick it up from any other device, whether it be your phone, an iPad, a laptop, wherever you are. So the web is fully about remote, async, lots of parallelism. The desktop is a really nice experience for developers to just work in as a standalone app. And the CLI is for developers who love terminals, and there are plenty of those. I think for me, the taste on top is the ability to really enjoy the process of the building and the making in a way that you don't necessarily feel when you use other tools that give you the same outcome. It's a delight and a joy to keep working on the thing, and you just can't stop, and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And you just ask our CTO who's in to the early hours of the morning, because he's like, just one more prompt. He's like addicted to doing it. Getting to the point where we felt that, I think, was the point that we knew that the taste was correct.